Hello, I have a block for you today that is near and dear to my heart. We are tackling cables. This is a very easy cable pattern. It's called a honeycomb stitch. You can see it looks like the honeycomb that bees make. And I want to explain what goes on. And I'm noticing that I have one little detail in the middle that you know, I just did this. You don't have to, just to I have half of it, and then I have a row that is short a little bit. I just added that in as a detail, so I kind of like it. Anyway, to make cables, I use a cable needle. These are cable needles. And when I bought these a million years ago, it came in a set of two. One is for the smaller size needles that you're using. Say you're doing something on a US 2 or 3 needle. The other one is more for the higher needle sizes, your US 7, 8. I'm using this larger one. Whoops. And they do roll. They do roll off the table. Anyway, what I wanted to point out is that what you are seeing on the surface, these are all knit stitches on the front of the work. When you work a cable, what you're doing is you're elevating the knit stitches and keeping the purls kind of recessed below, and that's what makes them pop. So to do a cable stitch, what you want to do is make sure that when you are moving stitches to the cable needle, when you've got a knit stitch, that always goes to the front and the purl stitches go to the back. So that's one handy trick to remember. This swatch I cast on 42 stitches. Now we've been working about 30 stitches, maybe 31 stitches, 42 stitches. It compresses, and that's what makes cable work warm. That's why you see it in all the Aran sweaters. All of these create more air pockets where warmth is held. So you're working with more stitches. There's more work to be done because what we're basically doing is transferring a stitch to the cable needle and holding it away from the work so that we can move it. All cables are doing are moving stitches in different directions. So you're holding a stitch until you can work with it, if that makes sense. And I'm going to walk you all through it under the other camera. But I just love cables. They're easy to do. You know, once you get used to them, you're going to hear a lot of people say the easiest way to do cables is without a needle. You know what? You're increasing your risk of dropping the stitches. You're increasing your risk of maybe having to grab a stitch and getting only some of it. I like using a cable needle. Do what you want, but the cable needle works for me. What I do is I move the stitch over to the cable needle, and when I'm ready to work with it, 1 or 2 stitches later, I move it back to my regular knitting needle. And that way, I'm working the stitch just like you would work any other stitch. I am not going to a lesser size needle. I'm not working it awkwardly. It's one more thing for me to do. It works for me. So give that a try. Try anything that you would like and see what works. But I thought I'd show you this finished block. I really, really like it. And because the cables don't need to be blocked, and by that I mean the shaping, you know, it's a nice sturdy block. And when I say that I did this little design element where this is a slightly smaller, all it means is that I took out 2 rows of the pattern that were elongating this. I could have done one down here, one up there. I did one in the center. You don't have to do it at all. It's just something I threw in just to kind of break it up a little bit. It's not reflected in the pattern. Um, so yeah, I really do kind of like this. And another thing that I wanted to mention to you is when I did my my crochet, what I did was I kind of went behind the stitch so that when these knit stitches, which are the outermost stitch, you can do an edge stitch if you would like to. I didn't want to go past the 7 inches, so I did not do the edge stitch. I didn't want to pick up for the crochet edge in the middle of the stitch, so I kind of went behind so that these remain in the front, if that makes sense to you. But yeah, come with me to the other camera and I'll show you how I did these. All right, so I want to show you how to do these wonderful cables. These are done with just one stitch, one knit stitch crossing over each direction over the purl stitches. And what we want to do is we want to keep the knit stitch on top. So right here we've got a knit stitch. We're going to put it on our cable needle and we're going to purl these next two. You just follow what's already been done. These are purled, so we're going to keep purling them. We want to purl 2, and then I like to put the stitch right back on the needle. I like to work it from the original needle. It's less cumbersome. You get the tension right because these needles are larger than this cable needle. So you want to try to keep everything consistent. Now we've got 2 purls, so we want to put those to the back so they recede. And we want to knit this next stitch. Put these 2 purls back. Now many people do knit right from the cable needle, and that's fine, whatever you like to do. But I find this much easier, and the tension is better. So now what we've done is we've pretty much closed our circle. We're going to do that over and over and over all the way across the row. So there's 2 purls and 1 knit. Put these purls to the back so they recede. We do our 1 knit and then our 2 purls. Now this, I don't know if you can see, I haven't picked that up very well. So if I find that I've split some of the yarns, you know, I take it off and do it again. It's very hard to rip back. It's not impossible, and it's a lot easier ripping cables back than it is lace. But if you don't have to rip back, it's better not to. So you want nice clean stitches, and if anything goes awry, fix it right away. Now this one kind of fell off my needle, so I just go in the back of it and retrieve it. That's something that you'll learn over time. So there's a lot of work involved in this. There really is. But it's enjoyable work, and it's not every row. So in our pattern, I think this is a 12-row pattern, there are only 2 turning rows. When you do the cables, they're usually referred to as cable rows or turning rows or working rows or, you know, something. All the rest is really just getting the length of the fabric. So, you know, the other 6 rows, is that right? Let's see, 12-row pattern. I don't know. The other rows are easy. Let's just say that. Yeah. So pretty straightforward. Once you've got the hang of it, you're putting the pearls to the back so that the knits will come to the front and be seen. The knits are what you want to be visible. So if you're putting a knit to the back, look at it and say, is this really what I want to do? And now here we are at the end. An edge stitch would be lovely on this. I did not do an edge stitch because I wanted to maintain my 7-inch width, and that might throw me off a little bit, and I didn't want to, you know, add too much to it, but there we have it. Isn't that lovely? And do you see how these pearls, they recede. They do recede, and that's what gives you this dimension. Now, like I said, we've been doing more 30, 31 stitches, 32 maybe, casting on. This one has considerably more because the cables squash in, and that's what makes them warm. That's why you see so many errands and cable designs in the wintertime, because they're trapping the air and they're creating warmth. So cables are one of my favorite things. I've introduced to you an easy cable. This is the cable needle that I use. Very straightforward. I like it. I don't like the hooks. I don't like the, I think they're called bird wings. I don't like any of that stuff. The simple is best. And like I said, on this next row, we are simply going to knit the knits and purl the purls as they face you, so you can see. Maybe you can see. There are 2 knits, and then you've got 2 purls. And because we're following this pattern, you're going to get 4 knits, 2 purls, 4 knits, 2 purls. So you can follow the pattern. You can write down, you know, what's on the wrong side and go from that, or you can just follow your knits and purls. Now, because this led in with a little bit of uncabled work, I want to end that way too. So I'm going to do 2 more rows so that I've got, you know, a little bit up there, and then I'm going to bind them off so that it's equal from top to bottom when I get to the 9 inches. And there you go. A basic honeycomb pattern, the mainstay of a lot of Aran sweaters.